I have a question. How long do you think someone that commits cannibalism should be convicted? No, wait, how long do you think someone that enjoys eating human flesh should be incarcerated? Prison, psych ward, solo confinement, whatever, right? How long? Because I sat reading for hours on cannibalism, the laws on cannibalism, and guess what I found out? There's none. There are laws that you can't commit murder, discrete a corpse or a grave, and you have to dispose human remains in a proper procedure to avoid spreading diseases. But cannibalism? No law. So if an adult consents to another adult to have them eat their flesh, it's technically legal. If it's not consented and the person's still alive, it's considered attempted murder, bodily harm. I mean, there are laws that protect you, for sure. But in the whole world, the whole freaking world, it's just condemned unethical. I have no words to that. Like, I'm really shocked and surprised. I just don't know what to say. But I think that's really alarming. Not as alarming as how two brothers walked among us for a whole year after serving a 2-year prison sentence for committing a heinous crime, and then going back for another 12 for the same exact crime. The crime, you ask? Not cannibalism, because that's technically legal. Hi friends, welcome to Sunday Sips with Safa. I do want to point out that the sun is very much so blinding me right now, and if I close the curtains, the light thing, it does this weird thing with my face lately whenever I upload a video, so I'm really trying to figure that out for now. So the last episode I mentioned that I was pre-recording these videos before Thanksgiving, and that there was no intention to me doing 2 Pakistani cases in a row. It was just I have these researches written ahead, and I just never got to them because I was too busy wanting to do more of the recent cases that were happening. So I know today's supposed to be a 6th Sunday episode, but I am moving that to the Sunday after the next. So hang tight, I promise it's going to come through, and it's going to be one of the better episodes that I have for you. And it's also going to be in December, so it's going to be a lot more bubbly of an episode. And we will probably take a hiatus from talking murder and death for at least 2 episodes, and then we'll go back to it. Today we're drinking Vietnamese iced coffee. Fun facts about me, I love coffee, and I really loved iced coffee. If you can't tell, I'm from the New England area, and we're really obsessed with our iced coffees in the winter. But also, today is like 70-something degrees, and that is not New England weather for fall season, so I guess iced coffee does make sense today. Vietnamese iced coffee is made with 2 tablespoons of condensed milk, coffee, and then water, of course. I love Vietnamese iced coffee. It's definitely my number 2 favorite type of coffee, and number 1 being iced Americano. And I would totally tell you all to try this. So I was looking it up. I was like, okay, wait, how was the Vietnamese coffee even come to, right? It turns out during Vietnam War, Vietnam just didn't have any milk available, or if it was very low. So obviously they had to use it for better things. So instead of using milk in their coffees, the Vietnamese people decided, you know what? Let's just use condensed milk and sugar. And that's where Vietnamese iced coffee came to. So I really love Vietnamese iced coffee. I'm really obsessed with it, which is probably why I can't stop talking about it. I think we should move on from that. Alright, so today's case, to gently put, is about cannibalism, but also grave robbing and a deceased child. If this sounds like it's going to be a heavy one for you, then I would absolutely ask you to click out. It's not that deep of a case, I promise, but there is going to be mention of cannibalism and children. I don't blame you. I love you guys. I appreciate you for being here, and I will see you next time. And for those who are sticking around, let's begin. So in 2011, 2 brothers, 27-year-old Muhammad Farman Ali and 32-year-old Muhammad Arif Ali were arrested. At first, the small village of Gawar started to gossip about how they always saw the two brothers lingering around the graveyards. It was just a rumor, but they were suspecting the brothers were always digging up graves to rob them. But they never understood why, because in Islamic traditions, the deceased is wrapped in a white shroud and buried without any earthly possessions. So what could these two brothers possibly gain from that? And it's not like they're organ transporting, because at this point, the citizens of the entire village would have known. Like, it's kind of obvious if you were disposing body parts after removing organs from them. So at first, the residents of Guadalcanal ignored the brothers' odd behaviors. But slowly, the graves being dug up turned into their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, hundreds, and the bodies from each and every grave started to go missing. Residents began to distance themselves from the two brothers, assuming that they're doing some kind of dark magic or, quote, devil worshipping. And I'm not really sure how they got caught in the first place, but the rumors in this village was ruthless. And one of the rumors that they had been spreading actually ended up coming true. The brothers were digging up graves, but more particularly, fresher graves, to secure themselves their next few meals. Unfortunately, this was caught after it got too far out of hand, and Farman and Arif were brought before the Punjab High Court and sentenced to 2 years in prison with a hefty fine for discrediting over 150 graves. They were admitted to King Edward Medical Hospital in Lahore, where they were reportedly being examined by the school's neurophysiology department. The results to their study was never released to the public, so we don't really know what the constructive data was to that. So in 2013, the brothers were released back to society, and this infuriated the villagers. I mean, rightfully so. It was already too much for them to have to deal with their beloved ones being dug up, but eaten? So the villagers rallied around the police and demanded that the two brothers go back to prison or are kicked out of the village. Meanwhile, the brothers would keep their head down and mind their own business for a whole year. But old habits are hard to kill. No matter how much you try to reform, some things require more care, attention, and a lot more time to recover from. And in April of 2014, Farman and Arif were caught once again, except this time with a fresher body. So in the early of April, a young 2-year-old boy had unexpectedly passed away. Farman and Arif happened to be heading home around the time that the burial process was taking, and they ended up observing the young boy being buried. And that same night, they snuck into the graveyard, dug him up, made the grave back the way it was, because it's still a fresh grave, obviously. Nobody would be able to tell if it had been dug up again, and took the body home. And it wasn't until a few days later that the neighbors started to notice the awful odor coming from the home. The police, being familiar with the brothers, ended up conducting an emergency raid and caught Muhammad Arif Ali in act of using the child's flesh in a curry. The brothers were brought to the court once again, but this time under charges of spreading fear, damaging property, and discrediting a child's grave, which are high-level offenses under Pakistan's anti-terrorism law. And this time, they were sentenced to 12 years in prison. So yes, that does mean there's a possibility that they will be released in 2026, and that they may return back to their village, or they may end up spreading themselves out to other villages in Pakistan. Now, honestly, even if the bodies that they were obtaining were of the deceased, it's still incredibly disrespectful. And as of right now, Pakistan does not have any laws against cannibalism, nor does any other country. So there's a possibility that Muhammad Farman Ali and Muhammad Arif Ali will strike again. But I'm going to give them a benefit of the doubt, because for one, they've been in prison for 12 years. I'm going to put good faith in and say, you know what? In those 12 years, they reformed in some shape or form. And if they haven't, then perhaps maybe the police should do some kind of parole system. Like, I don't know about Pakistan's laws, so I'm not really familiar with what the parole system will look like. But I personally think that maybe for at least 3 to 5 years after they've been released, the police go and check in on them at least once a week to make sure that the brothers are on the right track. I don't know. What do y'all think? Should the brothers be freed? And if they do get freed, should they be allowed to live among civilians? Or, I personally think they should have, like, mental health checks, like, once a week. Not mental health checks, but, like, like, well-being checks to, like, make sure that they're performing and not going back to the old behaviors and habits. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for listening. I will see you next time. Bye.